With the Chuseok holiday a matter of days away, the South Korean government unveils special COVID-19 prevention measures. Certain entertainment facilities will also be closed for 1 week. Another day in the triple digits, South Korea confirms 114 additional cases of COVID-19. 2 more deaths are reported, raising the country's death toll to 395. Plus, honouring the troops past and present, President Jaein delivers a speech for South Korea's Armed Forces Day. We have the details. Now, we are starting a bit earlier today because we're going to check in live with the COVID-19 latest here in South Korea from the country's top health officials. In just a few brief moments from now, we are going to cut to the briefing. It's happening in Seoul. We'll have simultaneous interpretation in English for you as well. As I just mentioned, we know that 114 more COVID-19 cases were confirmed today and 2 more deaths, but they might have some extra details for us, especially with the 5-day Chuseok holiday starting next Wednesday. We are expecting these special prevention measures to be unveiled to hopefully keep new cluster infections to a minimum, so we don't have to endure another surge in cases and those tighter social distancing rules yet again that no one enjoyed at all, particularly small businesses here. But in just a moment's time, we are going to go live over to the headquarters and let's take a listen.
Today's briefing will be carried out by Health Minister Bang Neung-hoo. Moreover, we have Mr. Yoon Tae-ho as well joining us for the briefing today. And we have a sign language translation available for you. And first of all, here is Health Minister Bang Neung-hoo with the explanation on COVID-19 response. I am the Health Minister of South Korea, Bang Neung-hoo. As of today midnight, we have 95 new local infections, and in the metropolitan area we have 83 cases, and in a non-metropolitan area we have 12 cases so far today. We have 2 additional fatalities, and I extend my deepest condolences to the deceased and the members of the bereaved families. Starting from mid-August, we have seen a rampant surge in the number of COVID-19 cases centering around the metropolitan area. However, starting from late August, we have seen a steady decline. And we believe that these were possible thanks to the efforts put forth by the members of the public, especially enduring the difficulties of livelihoods. I extend my deepest appreciation once again. However, we believe that there are many risk factors that lie ahead of us. Especially, we have an on-day increase in the metropolitan area of over 60 people on average this week. And also, we have untraceable patients being at about 20% of the total. And we continue to have cluster infections centering around door-to-door sales, as well as those who are in the incubation periods. And level 2 social distancing has been maintained for more than 1 month, and we believe that this has led to great level of fatigue among the members of the public, and many people are becoming complacent against such a measure. And we believe that the mobile traffic last week and last weekend were actually similar to the level of before these intensifying of the measures. And ahead of the Chuseok holidays, we believe that we have a mass movement of people scheduled, and this is actually the largest risk factor that we have at hand. And when we look back, especially in mid-May as well as in the summer, when we had a mass movement of people, we also had to fight against a large surge of the virus, and we believe that we could have a repetition of this case this time. And we need to also consider the many aspects aspects and conditions that our society face. And we believe that the quarantine measures during Chuseok will be actually very crucial in determining the future fate of the outbreak here in South Korea. And therefore, the South Korean health authorities have devised plans to intensify quarantine measures during Chuseok holidays, and we are exerting our full efforts, especially from the pan-government level. And we are urging and recommending the citizens to refrain from visiting their hometowns and to stay home safe and sound during the Chuseok holidays. And this is all about decreasing the number and the amount of mass movement of people. And we have restricted the number of reservations at public buses and trains, as well as reintroduction of the highway toll fees. And we will be continuing to put in place a suspension of the memorial parks and national cemeteries, as well as an closure to the department stores and traditional markets. We are also intensifying quarantine for tourist destinations, and in particular, Jeju-do Island is complying all of the island visitors to wear face masks, and they will be having intensified quarantine measures, including body temperature screening. And the same measures will be carried out in Gangwon-do as well. And we will also have about 3,200 quarantine officials to be mobilized at these tourist destinations who will be making inspections on site. And we will also have an emergency scheme of the quarantine officials and the medical professionals, and all of the screening clinics in the metropolitan area will be running as usual. And we will also have an emergency medical scheme. And starting from 28th of September and until the 11th of October, which is a 2-week period, this period has been designated as a special quarantine period, during which we will have intensified social distancing measures. And we are intensifying social distancing measures because there are risk factors both at the metropolitan area and non-metropolitan areas as well. And as for the metropolitan area, we believe that there could be people who are staying home, but they could also visit restaurants and cinemas, as well as other multi-use facilities. And as for the other regions nationwide, we believe that these people who have gone on travels and also went back to their hometowns to visit their loved ones could also go to the entertainment facilities there. And during these special quarantine period, we will be having intensified quarantine measures and detailed quarantine measures. We will also maintain the level 2 social distancing measures, the principles of level 2 measures. However, we will be intensifying some measures for certain business operations. And at the same time, we will be continuously monitoring the situations in the metropolitan area and non-metropolitan area as well, and considering the different phases and the different natures that they have, we will have diversified measures for these two areas. In the metropolitan area, we will focus on those people who visit multi-use facilities like restaurants, and while in the non-metropolitan area, we will focus on the entertainment venues. And commonly, we have the following measures to be placed both in metropolitan area and in non-metropolitan area. We will maintain the basic principle of level 2 social distancing, and therefore this means that all of the gatherings indoors with more than 50 people or outdoors with more than 100 will be banned. All of the public facilities like sauna, private academies, and so forth will also be mandated to wear face masks for all users. And if there is a breach, they will be fined and they will face penalties. And all of these professional sports games will have no spectators. Second, in order to provide a safe environment for the cultural venues, we will have the art galleries and museums and indoor public facilities which will be opening. However, they will also have a restriction in the number of users by 50%, and all of the users need to abide by quarantine measures, including wearing a face mask. And especially for the traditional markets and the department stores, as well as the travel hotspots, we will intensify quarantine measures. And we will also intensify our our inspection for drunk driving as well. And the following are the special measures tailored for the metropolitan area. First of all of the 11 high-risk facilities, including bars and entertainment venues, they will be carried out to have a ban on gathering. And all of the churches will continue with their principles right now. However, detailed measures will be consulted with the religious circles going forward. However, as for the multi-use facilities, including restaurants and other venues, we will be intensifying quarantine measures to decrease the number of congestion. And as for the cafes with more than 20 tables at their facilities and premises, we will limit the number of visitors by having social distancing measures. This means that they will have to sit a table apart, and they will have to have a minimum space in between the tables, or have a partitioner set up in between these tables. So these are the three options that they need to abide by, at least one of these three options. And going forward, we will also facilitate and maintain these measures going forward. As for the cinemas and theaters, as well as PC rooms, internet cafes, we will also have mandate all of the users to sit distance apart. And as for the amusement parks and water parks, we will minimize the capacity to about 50% through online booking. And we will also have the following measures tailored for the non-metropolitan area. As for the local governments that have an ease on the gathering ban, we will have continuously, starting from the 28th to October 11th, we will have a ban on the 5 types of high-risk facilities, which are the entertainment facilities. And these will be put in place for the 2 weeks. And as for the second week of October, the local authorities and the local governments will have their own authorities and their own determination to determine whether to waiver these toughened measures. And so far, we have explained to you the measures of intensified quarantine measures, and they will be put in place for 2 weeks during the September 28th to October 11th. And we ask for you to refer to the press kit for details. And the adjustment of the level of the social distancing after Chuseok holiday, we will be looking at the details of the outbreak, and we will be determined going forward. First, again, we highlight the following fact. During the Chuseok until the Hangul Day, we believe that the 2 weeks is very crucial in determining the future fate of our outbreak, especially in the latter half of this year here in South Korea. And we believe that we need to retain our routine daily lives, and we are at an important crossroad to determine whether we can go back to our daily routines or tighten our screws even more to fight against the COVID-19. Therefore, we ask for your cooperation and understanding going forward. So we ask you to refrain from visiting your hometowns or your relatives or going on travel. And we also ask you to become a responsible agent of quarantine. And please refrain from going to crowded, confined, and close contact environment, as well as all of the multi-use facilities that are crowded. And please also participate in quarantine measures proactively, including wearing a face mask and keeping a healthy distance amongst yourselves. We believe that the intensified quarantine measures in the Chuseok holidays will also inflict great difficulties and discomfort for many people. However, we ask for your understanding and consideration. We have also devised such measures to minimize the extension of our suspension of the business, but please do understand that we believe that these measures were inevitable. Traditionally, the Chuseok holiday is an invaluable time for the family members to gather together and to greet each other. However, we believe that it is a great pity for you to asking you to refrain from having such gatherings. However, nevertheless, we believe that this year the situation is quite different from the normal days, and we ask you to take non-face-to-face means, including talking on the phone as well as video conferencing. So please talk to your loved ones via online, and I believe that this could be the best alternative at hand. As for the nursing hospitals and long-term care centers, we believe all of the visiting must be reserved beforehand. And we also have mandated all of the caregivers and the staff members and managers there to provide great assistance for the senior citizens to utilize these technologies. And we believe that these will be great alternatives that we have at hand. Please stay apart physically, however, stay close psychologically and mentally. And we believe that we can fight over the virus going forward, as we did so far in combating the virus through a diverse series and multiple series of crises so far. And just as we did so far, we need to stay united, and we need to have a concerted effort between the government and the public, and we believe that we can wisely overcome yet another challenge. And we believe that we can retain our normal daily lives and move back to our daily and life quarantine measures. Let's have great confidence in our expertise and know-how, and I also have great confidence in the level of energy and the potential that our people have. The government will also exert our full efforts. Thank you very much.
예, 지금부터 질의응답 시간을 가지겠습니다. 배석자분들께서는 단상위로 올라.
That was South Korea's health minister delivering the daily COVID-19 briefing, and it's going to be a very different Chuseok, Korean Thanksgiving, this year due to the outbreak. Thank you, as always, to our translator, Kim Hyo-sun, as well, for her sterling work. Now, as we just heard there, South Korea reported 114 more COVID-19 cases on Friday. This is the third day in a row the number of cases has been over 100. But it is a drop of 11 cases from the previous day, and local infections are in double digits at 95. The greater capital area had the majority of new cases, 83. 19 overseas, bringing the total number of cases to over 23,400. The government, as we just heard, is to implement this special virus infection preventative scheme for 2 weeks, starting next Monday. We'll have more details on that later, amid concerns that the upcoming Chuseok holiday could bring more cluster infections. The European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control has published an updated risk assessment regarding the COVID-19 pandemic, while calling on Europeans to follow a set of guidelines for non-pharmaceutical interventions such as hand hygiene, social distancing, wearing face masks, and a bunch of other things as well. Lee Seung-jae reports.
The European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control on Thursday released its latest risk assessment on the COVID-19 pandemic, indicating infection rates have increased steadily across the EU and the UK since August. It added that measures taken thus far have not been sufficient to lower or contain the virus. According to Stella Kyriakoutis, the Commissioner for Health and Food Safety, it's crucial that EU member states roll out all necessary measures at the first sign of a new outbreak, including stepping up testing and contact tracing, improving public healthcare surveillance, ensuring better access to personal protective equipment and medicines, and ensuring sufficient health capacity. The assessment also revealed that Europeans have not been properly following non-pharmaceutical interventions. This includes a lack of physical distancing, hygiene, and the scant use of face masks. In Germany, a number of government ministers are in self-quarantine, including the Federal Minister of Economics, Peter Altmaier, who may have come into contact with an aide of another EU minister who tested positive. Altmaier is the second German cabinet member to go into self-quarantine after Foreign Minister Heiko Maas. After reporting over 2,000 new cases on Thursday, the German city of Munich has now made face masks compulsory in some busy outdoor spaces and may even consider a ban on alcohol. The French city of Marseille has been ordered by the central government to close all bars and restaurants in the city starting this weekend. France's health minister says the city has been designated a maximum alert zone due to a concerning rise in infections that is overwhelming local hospitals. City officials have lashed out at the decision, calling it collective punishment that was taken without consultation. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Now, in other news, President Moon Jae-in says South Korea will respond sternly to any act that threatens the lives and safety of the public. He made the remarks this morning during a ceremony to celebrate the country's 72nd Armed Forces Day. The president stressed the need for a strong military to ensure peace.
우리 자신의 힘으로 누구도 넘볼 수 없는 강한 안보 태세를 갖춰야 평화를 만들고 지키고 키울 수 있습니다. 정부와 군은 경계 태세와 대비 태세를 더욱 강화하는 한편 국민의 생명과 안전을 위협하는 그 어떤 행위에 대해서도 단호히 대응할 것임을 국민들께 약속드립니다.
His remarks come a day after the South Korean military confirmed that North Korea shot dead and burned a South Korean civilian who crossed the Western Sea border. No official response from Pyongyang as of yet. President Moon made no direct mention of North Korea in his address, focusing on the future vision for the South Korean military. On Thursday, though, he called the incident shocking, adding it cannot be tolerated for any reason, and called on the regime to take responsible measures. And the United States has expressed support for Seoul in condemning North Korea's killing and burning of a South Korean government official. In response to a written inquiry by Seoul-based Yonhap news agency, the State Department also called for the regime to provide a full explanation. These remarks came after President Moon expressed deep regret, and they seem to highlight the close coordination on this issue between the allies. The regime, as I mentioned before, still hasn't said anything about it. Japan's export curbs on South Korea has led to increasing challenges faced by South Korean companies, especially in the sectors of materials, parts and equipment. To this end, South Korean researchers have developed equipment capable of providing accurate quality assessment of high purity gas materials. Kim Hyo-sun reports.
South Korean researchers have successfully developed a set of equipment that can provide accurate assessment of high-purity gases like hydrogen fluoride, which is used in semiconductor manufacturing. Such an achievement is deemed significant as it follows months-long struggle after Japan imposed export restrictions and the material to Seoul.
We have had limitations in carrying out objective quality assessment, but our new equipment will enable such assessment going forward.
The Korea Research Institute of Standards and Science plans to provide quality assessment tests for some 20 high-purity gas materials, starting off with hydrogen fluoride for semiconductors. The test is conducted by turning liquid hydrogen fluoride into gas, which will then go through assessment for some 24 types of metallic impurities to determine its final purity level. The development is also meaningful in that it has been done only with homegrown technology.
We are carrying out research to provide support for diversifying South Korea's import sources and domestic production of gas materials used for manufacturing semiconductors.
The researchers now plan to establish a standard test method with the aim to enable Korean firms to develop related technologies without having to be reliant on foreign sources. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
US President Donald Trump will announce his pick Saturday local time to replace the late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Crowds opposing the president jeered him on Thursday as he appeared at the High Court to pay his respects to the late justice. Kim Jae-hee with the details.
President Trump was met with boos and chants as he stood in silence at the U.S. Supreme Court to honor the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Her body was lying reposed at the High Court for the second day on Thursday. Crowds nearby shouted, "Vote him out," and honor her wish, slamming the president's plan to announce on Saturday his nominee to replace the late justice. Democrats opposed this, demanding the winner of the November 3rd election name the nominee. Ginsburg reportedly told her granddaughter just days before she died last Friday that her wish is to not be replaced until a new president is installed. President Trump has suggested that Democrats may have written this statement. Trump's push for a new justice before the election is stirring up controversy, especially as he refused on Wednesday to commit to a peaceful transfer of power should he lose to Joe Biden, citing his concerns over mail-in voting.
Will you commit here today for a peaceful transferal of power after the election?
We're going to have to see what happens. You know that I've been complaining very strongly about the ballots, and the ballots are a disaster.
President Trump also said he thinks the election will end up in the Supreme Court, which watchers say may explain his rush to nominate a replacement for Ginsburg.
I think it's very important. I think this will end up in the Supreme Court, and I think it's very important that we have 9 justices.
On Thursday, the White House sought to clarify President Trump's remarks.
The president will accept the results of a free and fair election.
But the press secretary said President Trump wants to get rid of mass mail-in voting, which he insists will lead to enormous election fraud. Kim Jae-hee, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. It's been raining heavily on the East Coast. 20 to 60 millimeters of rain will fall through early Sunday in Gangwon-do province, while the East Coast along Gyeongsang-do province will see 5 to 30 millimeters of rainfall through this morning, with a chance of passing rain in the Jeollanam-do and Chungcheong-do provinces. And top readings will be slightly higher today, ranging from 23 to 26 degrees Celsius, and the skies will be brighter in the afternoon though. The East Coast will have a wet weekend, while the rest of us will be under mostly sunny skies. But wide temperature gaps will persist, so be sure to dress accordingly. In fact, the weather looks promising for now through the Chuseok holiday next week under a good amount of sunshine. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
Well, that's where we are going to have to leave the news and weather for now. We'll have more updates for you throughout the day, though. Until next time, goodbye.